We are now joined by Fred Weston. He's an editor at Marxist.com and has been a part of the Hands Off Venezuela campaign. Thank you for joining us, Fred. Your first opinions, your first analysis on the situation happening today in Venezuela.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. Well, it's clear that the opposition in Venezuela is not going to give up until it succeeds in overthrowing the democratically elected government of Venezuela. The opposition represents all that is rotten in the old system of Venezuela that started at the time of the Caracazo with the killing of hundreds of people. This is what the opposition really represents in Venezuela. And they detest all the reforms that were granted during the Chavez period to the working people of Venezuela.
To speak to Fred Weston. We lost contact there, but we'll try to get him, and so we can have his analysis on what's going on over here in Venezuela as well. So let's go to other news. Let's do a recap, if you're just joining us, on what's happening in Venezuela. Since very early this morning, the Venezuelan government faced an attempted coup d'etat and has dismantled a small group of soldiers behind the plot. Soldiers were deceived and taken to the military air base of La Carlota in the east of Caracas. Reports saying that soldiers had occupied the base were incorrect, and troops that were loyal to the Bolivarian government maintained complete control. The latest news is that a Bolivarian colonel was shot and injured during these events. Now let's see if we have Fred Weston back so he can talk to us about his opinions on what's happening in Venezuela. Hello, Fred, again.
Hello, sorry about that.
No problem.
That got interrupted.
So you were saying your first opinions, your first impressions on the situation in Venezuela.
Well, the opposition is not going to be content until it removes the present government of Venezuela. And the reasons for that are nothing to do with democratic elections or who represents or who is the president, rightly or not, of the country. It is to do with the program that Hugo Chavez tried to carry out over a period of years, including many reforms such as access to doctors for poor people or housing, etc. And there were real gains and benefits for the working people of Venezuela during that period. Now Venezuela is gripped by an economic crisis, part of which is clearly due to sanctions and attempts to strangle the Venezuelan economy. The reason being that the government of Venezuela has represented an alternative to the right-wing governments which dominate in many countries of Latin America. US imperialism is determined to remove this example from the map of Latin America, and that's what this ongoing attempt to carry out a coup represents. And anybody that defends genuine democracy, but not just democracy, the struggle for the interests of working people all over the world, cannot but oppose all attempts to impose a reactionary right-wing government on Venezuela.
So, Fred, how do you see this playing out, for example, in the international arena? Do you see support from groups like ALBA and maybe a counter effect in groups like the OAS or maybe the UN? Can they do anything to stop a possible coup attempt in a different occasion?
Well, the United Nations has proved throughout its history that it is incapable of stopping any coup, because it can only represent the wishes of all the countries that make it up. And considering that a country like the United States is part of the UN and other such countries, you cannot hope for anything from the UN.